beat the timer. And so again, we're going to be talking about this learning in disguise and what it looks like, and how we get our students excited. So Ted, do you have any fun stories about your learning in disguise, or with your kids or your own classroom or teachers you work with?
Yeah, well. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Stephanie for letting me partner up with her today. You know, she's a great educator, fellow Ohioan, if I pronounced that right. Sorry, I'm from Jersey. So when you guys pummel Rutgers in 2 weeks, you know, just remember that. She got me here by telling me that there was going to be Village People tryouts, hence why I'm here. Did anybody get that joke? Please, somebody put up your hand in the audience.
No one got it.
Okay, why? You guys know YMCA?
Yeah.
Okay, right. That's the Village People. A lot of them had mustaches like this. Okay. Don't worry, the jokes are going to get worse, guys. I promise. It's Friday afternoon. All right. But the place is, my two are slightly older than Stephanie's, where they're 19 and 22. But you know, yes, there's a lot of times where, you know, the learning was always kind of disguised, kind of like, you know, like the vegetable on the plate type of deal. And then also like I do coaching, you know, sports coaching, but also I work with teachers as well as an instructional technology coach here in New Jersey, and just finding different ways of like having people get engaged, meeting them where they are, having fun with it, right? There's only so many times, as you guys know, like when you have that mandatory training and they're showing you how to click a button and not click a button for state testing, that type of thing. So we try to make it like, you know, puzzle-based, game-based, those type of things. If any of you followed Steffi and I on social media this week, there may or may not have been a tweet about that seemed very cryptic. And what it had in there was a lot of the nicknames of colleges in Ohio. And that was my way of getting people to learn something about Ohio, since I was going to be presenting out here. So thank you for welcoming me. So yeah, so there's all kinds of different ways. And you know what? Sometimes it may not even be the end user that winds up with the learning. It may wind up being you, because you're doing something you enjoy, you're making it fun for yourself, and so you'll keep, you know, pushing yourself to learn about it.
Yeah, and so when it comes to learning and design, oh my gosh, design, guys, you are designing, but you're going to be taking your curriculum, your teaching resources, and just adding a little bit to it. Just like with my son AJ, I just added a timer and a little bit of my verbiage, and I made it a game. And so with learning in disguise, you're going to do the same. You're going to use that curriculum that you have, but then kind of disguise the learning with some of these engaging ideas that we're going to share. And at the end of the session, we're going to share all of the slides and resources with you, so you'll have access to everything that we shared today. So again, that will be at the end. It's going to be a bit.ly link. All right, so we're going to do quick introductions. My name is Stephanie Howe. I am in Ohio. I believe it's like 2 hours from you guys, so I wasn't able to be there in person today, but it's so great to be here virtually. I'm close to Pickerington, about 20 minutes from Columbus is where I'm located. And I was in education for 10 years, and then I just recently switched over to CAMI. And I have been with them for like a month and 3 weeks, almost 2 months. And I am a teacher success champion. So I help teachers use CAMI and think of different ways that they can use it in their classroom and support educators. So absolutely love supporting educators and just meeting amazing people from around the world. Ted.
All right. And I'm Ted Samaras. I am an instructional technology coach right smack in the middle of New Jersey, which I know isn't nearly as big as Ohio, but probably has more people. So I work with a great staff, K-12. Like Stephanie, I'm a Google champion, so I'm an innovator and trainer. So we get to work on a lot of these type of things. This is our first time officially teaming up. Hopefully Stephanie will have me back to team up again with her, depending on how the session goes. So, you know, make sure you remind her that of the feedback. But yeah, you know, this kind of came up too as kind of like a little bit of like, you know, like a goof. It was like, we just, you know, something came up online, and I believe it had to do with mustaches and this and that. And I reached out to Stephanie, and I went back and forth. and was like, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should. I said, hey, you want to do something like this, and it involves wearing a mustache. And Stephanie was on board, and we kind of jumped in together on this. So, but it really is, worth it to be able to, take some of the stuff that you're doing, and again, making it fun for both you and your students and your staff. So, what we're going to do is we're going to cover, we divided it up into 4 different sections. It is game-based learning, it is interactive learning, curious learning, and surprises and delights. So what we did was we each took, one of our favorites. We did have a session before this one. So what we want to do is, in case you're a repeat customer, we want to pick a couple of different ones. And so the first one we're going to talk about is word search. And for this session, the 2 actually topics that I focused on, even though they have to do with like spreadsheet type stuff, there are no formulas. So if you are spreadsheet averse, you don't have to worry about, oh, I need to know this formula, that formula. And if there is anything that you do have questions about, like how to, you can always reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to talk about it with you. I just want you to get a sense of kind of what you can do with this. So for the word search, what it has is it has a bunch of different tabs in there that have different samples. And so the samples, we tried to give you both a blank one, so you have it and it's ready to go, and then also right next to it, a filled one. All right, so you can see the different ones there. So the first one that we're showing here is like small words. So if you're working at the primary grades, right? And again, you want to think about who your end user is, right? And you're like, word search, how am I going to give this to like a kindergarten or first grader, right? But you'll see that the words, if like we look at the filled one, you'll see that the words are either vertical or horizontal. Nothing is backwards. There's no diagonals, nothing like that. So we did try to keep the user in mind, right? We didn't want to like trick this out so much. You can also do it with images too. So in Google Sheets, you could do insert image in a cell. So maybe you want them to get used to, finding out how to color. Okay, so what you could do is you can find a way to color the shade the things out. So if you find like 3 comets in a row or 3 planets in a row, you could see you could just color them like that. So they get used to seeing the words in the vocabulary bank and also the pictures too. You could do it here. This is with animals. You could see here, this one gets a little more complicated. You don't have to do this, but at the bottom right, there's actually a code. And what you could do is like you have all those letters that are in white. Those are all just extra letters, right? That weren't used in the puzzle, but you can make them actually where you have to unscramble them, and then they can actually make a code word. So you have that. And again, these are different like thought starters, right? The next one I think was we did Ohio colleges and nicknames, right, in honor of being here today. So we picked the 12 Division I the schools that are there, so everybody should be represented. If anybody is a Golden Flash, I apologize that I couldn't fit Golden Flashes all together, so you got flashes, but the spirit of the Golden Flashes were there. So you could do that, and again, you could kind of eyeball this and make it fit for you. In our district too, we have a lot of English language learners, primarily Spanish. I guess the term for this year, as this recording is going on, is multilingual learners. And so the next 2 puzzles, one is where half the words are in Spanish and half the words are in English. So like you may have it where like the vertical, look for the Spanish words vertically, look for the English words horizontally. And then you can also have like in the French version of it too, for a presentation I did for some teachers in Morocco, where French is one of the prominent languages. Again, they're learning English and French at the same time. So you can really let your mind run with this. And again, there's not one formula in here. There's not even any conditional formatting in here, right? This is just, whoever the end user is using it, the student, staff member, whatever, they're just shading in a box. So you don't have to you could jump right in and you have the template as part of the resources as well.
I really like the idea of using images. I never thought of that. So I think this is really cool where the students have to find and then color code based on what they find. I think my son would really love this one.
And don't worry, Stephanie, I won't charge you for using it. So
Oh, perfect. That's all
AJ
free.
can use it as much as he wants.
Awesome. So that was focused on game-based learning. So again, kind of creating this game of the word search. And so now we're going to go into interactive learning. And when we're thinking about interactive learning, one of my favorite activities is using the framework, the 5 E's. And so if you haven't heard of the 5 E's, what you can do is there's engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. So again, those are the 5 E's, and the students just kind of follow. You can see here this like roadmap, this path to complete all of these activities. And so this first activity, the students, this was for ELA. However, a lot of these activities can be adapted for any subject that you teach. So this first one is focused on the Westing Games. And so students were reading chapters 1, 2, and 3. And the first thing that students did is they did popcorn predictions. And so when it comes to popcorn predictions, students have these like quotes from the book. And so what I did is I just went to ChatGPT and I just typed in 20 quotes from the Westing Games. And it did its thing in like less than a minute. And once I had those, I cut them out into these little strips. And so once you have these little strips, what happens is students then get this piece of paper. And on this piece of paper, they read their quote. So each of these are a different quote from the book, The Westing Games. And they write down their prediction. So they read their quote, they write down what they think the story is going to be about. We haven't read the story yet. Then what happens is they pop, so it's popcorn predictions, they pop around the room. So then students pop to another partner, they read the sentence strip again, and they make their second prediction about what the story is going to be about. So they have their quote, their partner's quote. So they have 2 pieces of textual evidence to make a prediction about what the story is about. Then what happens is students get a third sentence, textual evidence from the story, and their predictions should be getting stronger and stronger because they're gathering more information about what the book is about. And then they do it again for their 4th one, and then they take each of these ideas and create their final prediction of what they think the story is going to be about. And sometimes when I get students to come up with their final predictions, I might go back after we finish the book and see whoever was the closest gets some type of prize. So that's one way to kind of do it. And this idea is from EB Academics. If you have younger students or you teach another subject, maybe think about vocabulary words or images that students are going to need to know about an upcoming unit, and they have to guess what the upcoming unit's going to be about. So adding in this engagement with the 5 E is really important for students because they're going to be excited, curious about their learning, and popcorn predictions is a way that they can do that. This next one is explore. So if you have not read the Westing Games, there are a ton of characters. And with the characters, there are facts that I put next to them. And I don't know if I'm also kind of talking crazy.
Does that sound better? Maybe? Okay. Perfect. Oh, no, it doesn't. What's going on? Let's see if I can figure that out. Does it sound weird on your guys' end?
Yeah, a little.
The microphone might be on in the audience.
There we go. Okay. I think that's better. Perfect. Thank you. So right here are all the different characters, and there's a lot in the Westing Games. And so students will then have descriptions next to each of those images, and they're doing a gallery walk. So these images are up around my room, maybe in the hallway if I trust my students, and they are learning about each of the different characters, a quick couple sentences about them. And what happens then is students do a sketch and tell. Sketch and tell is an EDU protocol. that students can use, and they write the character's name here. They write a quick description, and then they sketch the character. I've used the same template with vocabulary. So if you're not teaching a book, you could use vocabulary words where students have the vocab word. Maybe they write one word to describe it, the definition, and then they sketch it. Or maybe they draw like an emoji or something like that, or they give it a color to kind of help them categorize the different words that they need to learn. So after they do their sketch and tell, students then are ready for the explain. The explain, they're going to listen or read the chapters 1, 2, and 3. Once they do that, they are going to have a real talk discussion. And this again is by the EB teachers. They're one of my favorite resources. And with real time discussion, what happens is students are looking for questions, vocabulary, quotes, observations, connections, and style. And again, if you teach another subject, this is just a discussion protocol. So you can just change it from quotes to maybe something else that you're learning about, facts, or something that you want to really point out for your students to learn. And right here is what I love is these sentence stems. These sentence stems can help students as they are creating resources to use these sentence stems to really help their learning and describe what they are about to ask in their discussion. So they're using questions from the book. They're thinking about quotes and who said them. They're looking for observations. Did you notice when this person did this? They're also looking at vocab. Why do you think maybe the author chose to use this word rather than this word? And they're creating these questions or these statements to really help guide a discussion that's going to take place. After the students write about 6 of them on a Post-it note, then what they do is they have these little discussion talking stems. It helps them with agreeing and disagreeing and just kind of being polite because then in the past I've seen like, you're wrong. And that's not how we respond. We respond with maybe, I question your statement about blank because. And so they're able to have these safe, psychological safe type of environments when it comes to discussion. Also on here is a rubric. So one of my teachers, when we did this, is she just had this rubric and she was walking around and saying, yep, yep, yep. And she was like color coding as the students worked on these different activities. So again, they have to read first and then they can do that discussion talk. And to kind of help students, because I know sometimes they're like, it is kind of self-paced. Students right here have a goal. So we have a today's goal when it comes to the 5E roadmap. And today their goal is box 3. So box 3 is here. Students maybe have had a week and they need to be there. I'm able to tell them, hey, the last 15 minutes, we're going to be doing our real talk discussion. So you need to have those chapters read, those Post-its filled out, because that's the expectation. These students right here, I need to meet with. I need to have a conference with them. And so I can meet with these students and have a conference with those students. And then just a reminder for them that if they have finished their gallery walk, it goes in the red bin. So I've organized kind of my lessons so they know exactly what the learning goal is, what box we need to get to, but what they need to do by the end of class, who I'm meeting with during that time while they're working independently, and then the reminder of that red bin. So again, that was the goal for this class period. Another way is to elaborate. So having students work on maybe like a 1-pager. So here are a bunch of different templates. And what students do is they take those 3 chapters or that content and they design a 1-page about it. They can add quotes, images, words that stick out to them. Anything that they want, they design this and color it. And so I print these out and then the students are able to design their 1-pager about those 3 chapters. So they're covering maybe key characters, they're covering vocabulary that sticks out, imagery, maybe adding some figurative language if you needed to as well. Another one, since this is a choice board, is they could create an Instagram. So they could pick one of the characters and create an Instagram profile for that character and talk about 3 important events that took place in that chapter about that character. They could also build the map of the building and where everybody lives if that was a choice as well. So they can kind of choose if they want to do this on paper, digital, or kind kind of build it out if they're building a map. And then the last thing is that evaluate. So having a mastery check. And for this activity, students picked one of these questions, they answered it, and then I was able to say, yes, they did answer it, no, they did not, and provide that feedback. If they did not master it, then they had to pick another, they had a conference with me first, but then they had to pick another question to answer. So it's just really helpful for me to be able to differentiate, reteach for mastery for my students. And again, using that interactive learning where they have a bunch of different activities to complete against this roadmap, along with some choice and some movement along the way.
And that's awesome, Stephanie, that like all those resources you showed there, like they could be plugged or they could be unplugged, right? And you had the students moving around everywhere. And like even a lot of the resources that we have here, if you're going with that idea of a choice board, any one of them could get plugged in, right? We're just giving you like different suggestions, but you might say, you know, I like this, and this, and I want to be able to provide this for my students, whether it's for their standard activities, extension activities, whatever it is. So you could take the choice board template like that Stephanie was just showing you. You can maybe grab a couple of games that I'm showing you, and you can merge them together, and you're kind of all set. So really just allow your minds, you know, once you've rested on the weekend, hopefully, right? Nobody has any plans or grading this weekend, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, good. I did get a chuckle. That might be my first Ohio chuckle. All right, awesome. All right. And a laugh out loud, even better. Okay. So now I'm emboldened. Now you're really going to get the jokes. But with this next one here, is kind of like a little lighter one. And this one falls under curious learning. And to be honest, like some of the stuff that we've both done could probably have fallen in multiple categories. But we thought we would play Guess Who. So Guess Who? I'm sure you may have seen it at some point, where, you know, the students say, you know, do you have red hair? Do you have blue hair? Do you have, you know, all those type of things. And so what you can do is, again, this could be completely unplugged. You don't have to worry about doing it on a computer, but should you want to, you could. And really, this is just built with the couple of things you would need to know are that you can insert check boxes in cells in Google Sheets that can check on and off. So if I was to come here and do that, I could check it on, I can check it off. I can also insert images right in a cell. So I know it used to be where you can only put an image in over like the cells, but now you can put it right in the cell. So it's a lot easier and neater for sizing. It keeps me in line here. And then what I did, and you don't have to do this, is I just did a little conditional formatting, just saying if this is checked, then color it. If it's not checked, don't color it. That's not something you have to worry about. If you're really curious about it, I'll be happy to walk you through it. You can reach out to me at any point. But in these samples, there's actually 3 tabs here. So there's a lot going on. If you follow, you know, NASA and JPL and all those places, there's a ton going on in space. The solar eclipse, right? The one out west just happened. I know you guys are in prime spot, a lot of you in Ohio, for that April 8th one, for that total eclipse. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little bit jealous. I might jump in the car. I might not. If I do, Stephanie, I'll let you know.
I'm not in that area, but we can drive up. It won't be far.
Yeah, well, it won't be as far for you as it will for me, especially with traffic in both Philadelphia, Harrisburg, and Pittsburgh, getting through all that. But on this Guess Who, I have tabs here. So you have the planets. So again, you can have the students, you know, they're in a science class. It could be, and you can make the questions as sophisticated or as basic as you want. You can also just do it with people. And I'm just giving you here a sample of 8. So this is great if like you want them just to get used to, oh, this is how I check the box. This is how I don't check the box. But you can make it the square smaller. You could put 16, 24, as many as you want to. I even took the opportunity to pick some Ohio pro sports teams because I thought I should play to the crowd. Now, I know I didn't put the Columbus Crew in, even though I put in FC Cincinnati. So for the soccer fans out there, I apologize, right? But I had to leave a couple out. But, you know, I might say, you know, Stephanie might say to me, you know, does your team play hockey? And then, you know, or I might say to her, you know, does your team play hockey? And she says, yes, my team plays hockey. right, Stephanie?
Yes. My
Yes.
team hockey.
Awesome. And so what happens is I say, okay, which of these teams are hockey teams, right? And I look and I know that Stephanie's not too far from Columbus, so I know she loves her Blue Jackets. But then there's also another team here, the Cleveland Barons. And if you guys know who the Barons are, we can have a whole nother conversation about that at a different point, if you really want to, right? So then I might get really specific now that I've narrowed it down to 2 and go, hey, Stephanie, did your team play only in the late 70s in Cleveland and move from California, where they were the California Golden Seals, and then they merged with the Minnesota North Stars and are now defunct?
Yeah.
I would ask that question. And if I did, and Stephanie said yes, that's your cue to say yes.
Yeah, I said yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. And she says that very strangely specific question. Then all of a sudden, I know it's not the Blue Jackets because they play now, and I am left with the Cleveland Barons. So again, the questions could be, obviously it should be student-centered, right? For your observations and all that stuff, and just for learning. But if you want to guide them and say, well, maybe, you want this, you want your questions to be slightly more sophisticated, like that second one was, you can do that. But again, there's no formulas in here. There's a little bit of conditional formatting if you want it, but really it's just knowing you can insert checkboxes and images. And then you have the structure of the Google Sheet, which is nice. You don't have to worry about like dragging images in and making sure they fit and do all that kind of stuff. So, but if you do have questions about, any of the ones that I've showed, I'd be happy to help you build it.
That's really fun. And I think too, when I was looking at the people, I was thinking like emotions, like for social emotional, like who's angry, or why are they feeling that way? That could be a fun way to play as well. So great idea.
Thank you.
All right, surprise and delights. These are activities that are just kind of fun for your students to try. And so what I'm going to share this round is power-ups. And so when it comes to power-ups, these kind of go with games, but sometimes I just like to surprise and delight my students, and I won't even tell them about these power-ups beforehand. I'll have these just cut out, and I usually laminate them because I'm a huge fan of lamination. And I'll cut them out, and then I will place them on the desk of students when we're playing a game, or just sometimes randomly, right? And so what these power-ups can do is they can help students or they can hurt other students. So like, for example, this one right here is play this power up to steal an item from a rival team of your choice. So if we're in a game, I will use this power up and students can steal maybe some type of item or some type of knowledge or question from another team. It just kind of depends. And sometimes I'll just change the language. You can see here, there's multiple slides with different ideas where this one, if they're working with a group, they have to clap each time before they type. So every time they type, they have to clap. So you can see how quickly that gets annoying, right? And so again, it's just some ways to add some surprise and delight into the classroom for your students. So when students maybe are playing, they might need to swap points with another team. If again, we're playing with numbers. So these are just, again, some ideas for you. And usually what I do is after I do this with a group of students, I listen to their feedback. Hey, this would be a really cool power up. And then I just add them in and I type them in because students have some really good ideas. Like they came up with that clap one. They had an idea of taking 2 writing utensils from another team, completing a task with their eyes closed. That's really difficult if you don't know the keyboard, right? But they came up with some of these ideas, and what I use them in is just randomly. So I'll just kind of go through, and some of them are group-based or game-based, but some of them I can just kind of have them do maybe while they're working independently. But again, a lot of times they are kind of groups when we're playing games. But that's just a way that you're able to say, okay, I'm just going to have 5 power-ups while we work in groups to solve these problems with a timer, and then they have to do those different activities.
And that's really cool too. That like in the resources you're given, Stephanie, the fact that you have like that blank template and it's like easy to use. So I mean, like I could tell like all of the educators that are spending their Friday afternoon at 3:15 with us instead of like either at home or on bus duty at this point, right? Like they know, right? It's about the student engagement and the student choice. And so the fact that you can just on the fly just kind of put those power-ups in is really, you know, powerful. Power up. Yeah, it's really good that the resources are that flexible though.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure. And then do you want to share your guess the year again?
I can do that. I
Okay.
can certainly do that.
Because I think
So,
this one's really cool.
all right. All right. So what this is, if I go ahead here and I hide these cells a second, just pretend like you don't see them, kind of like, you know, you're pretending like this is a real mustache. Okay. And if I just take out one of the cells here, all right, you will notice that I have here 20 different facts. Okay. And for each of the facts, what I am doing is I am trying to select which year in the 60s that this came in, that this happened, right? So the JFK assassination was 1963, lights up green. Man lands on the moon, 1969, lights up green, because they are correct. If I get one incorrect, like when Hawaii becomes a state, if I say it was 64, it turns yellow and it actually lowers my number count here. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get to 20 out of 20. All right. Now, this one is a little more formula based, but I don't want you to get hung up on that. I just want you to kind of think about what you can do with it. All right. And so what I'm doing is actually, if I go ahead and show you these hidden cells, I'm trying to make sure that the answer I have on any particular question matches up with the cell here. So for man landing on the moon, the answer in cell C4 is 1969. This over here in column G is my answer key. If these two match, then what happens is this box will turn green based on conditional formatting. I've also taken the extra step of giving myself a point for every time that I get something right. So what happens is that you can see here, they're all ones. All of a sudden, I get down to the one I didn't answer, and I don't have any points yet. All right. Long story short, what happens is that once I get to 20 here and 20 here, right, because this is adding this up, what's going to happen is that this box will light up true, and you'll see what happens. So John Glenn orbiting the Earth. Anybody want to guess it before I put the answer in? Okay, here's a hint. It happened in the 60s. That didn't help. Okay, awesome. It is 1962. So I'm going to put that in here. And when I do, you will see now that on the right here, this statement became true. And because this did, it filled out the word groovy, right? Which was a 60s phrase, who those of you who are not familiar with it. I was not born in the 60s either, but that's what I've heard. And I have watched enough Scooby-Doo to know that that is also accurate. Okay. So, so you get groovy. So again, this is kind of a neat thing, right? It's a little more complicated just to set up at the beginning, but if you have the thought process, you can do it. And just to take like 30 more seconds on this, what's really neat about this is that this came out of a passion project for me. And that's the best way to learn in disguise, right? When you're learning, when you're having fun, and you don't even realize you're learning. So my mom is 81. So last year she was 80. For those of you math teachers, that was quick math on my part. So last year she was 80, and it was always like, you know, since, you know, I was a little kid, just like for Stephanie, for her AJ, it's always like, you know, mom wants like the homemade thing, right? So whether it's cutting out a heart or making a birthday card or whatever the story is. So I decided, well, you know what? 80 is a big milestone for her. So I built out guess the, you know, like you know, through the decades type of game. So like in the 40s, it was a crossword puzzle with facts about the 40s. The 50s was a jumble. The 60s was guess the year, et cetera, et cetera. So it gave me a reason to want to learn how to do this and kind of be creative with type of things. It also got to show my mom what I actually do sometimes at work when I'm not fixing a Chromebook. So that was kind of neat as well. But again, this is the type of thing where if you find it interesting and you enjoy tinkering with these type of things, whether it's this or whether it's whatever else you're working on, you really are learning in disguise, right? And so having to learn even how to build this or the word search or any of the great stuff that Stephanie showed you too. if you have your students build out their own work, their own reviews, their own those type of things as they become more advanced, it becomes an even more rewarding experience for both you and them.
All right, we played this last round and we're going to just do a couple because it's just so good. But this is another idea for surprise and delights. It's nailed it or failed it cat edition. And so when we play, you have to decide if the cat is going to nail it or fail it. So I'm going to find some new ones for this round, just in case you were joining us.
Okay, good, because I went 0 for 3 the last time. So.
All right, so let's see about this one. What do you think, Ted?
I think he nailed it, but I've been so positive on these cats. It's been a little interesting. It's like it's the Bengals.
So what happens is typically I get the students up and moving because they might have been sitting for a long time. And I say, okay, go to the right if you think he nailed it. Go to the left if you think he failed it. And it's just a quick, fun brain break for students, especially if I'm like, okay, we just need a break. So let's find out what this cat did. There you go. You're 1 for 4.
Yeah, it's my lucky group. Must be the lucky group.
Okay, this one's a good one. What do we think for this one?
I think he's got to totally fail it, and something's got to happen to that person sitting in the front. And if it doesn't, I'll be disappointed.
It's just so bad. So bad. Okay, one more, and then we're going to ask any questions that you might have. What do you think?
I'm waiting for the crowd. I'm trying to read the crowd and go with the majority. It looks like a lot of them look like that cat better have a life preserver on.
Yeah, I don't think cats like water.
Yeah, I don't think this cat's going to like the water either if he hits it, but we'll see. Wow.
I know, right? So again, just adding some surprise and delight into your lesson with nailed it or failed it, or using guess that year, or maybe some power-ups can really help engage your students. And so we hope you had fun with us with Learning in Disguise and have some new ideas that you can implement in your classroom. But if you do have questions, please come up to the microphone so we can hear you. If not, feel free to reach out to us, and I'll put the slides up as well. So right there is the slides. The capital letters do matter. So make sure that capital F and capital Q and W are actually capital letters. But if you have no questions, have a great day, and we'll stay around for a little bit to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
This is the end of the day for you guys now. So you need to hear bus 1, bus 2, bus 3, go to the front. Otherwise, nobody knows they can leave. Or worse, when they do the letters and then they say the word. A for apple, B for banana.
Oh,
C for broken. It takes like 20 minutes to get through the buses.
I haven't heard that one. That's interesting. We created a spreadsheet for our buses, and then they color code as they come in. It's been life-changing.
It's amazing how those little things work like that, isn't it?
Like having a visual, multimedia, multi-sensory approach.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Oh. Making sure there's no other questions.
Thank you, Evan, for hosting us all day.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
I'll send you the recordings later today.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you, Ted.